Pete Bedell. Pete, thanks ever so much for your time. This is big news, isn't it?
Huge news for Australian boxing, Nico. The great Tim Tszyu is back in Newcastle. Look, we know what happened last year. 2 losses in America. It's now take 2 for Tim Tszyu. And I think he has yet to conquer America, but Australia is his backyard, and I think he'll reinforce that with this fight against a very, very tough and dangerous American who's coming to steal his prize. Let's see how Tim Tszyu goes. His career's on the line.
Well, it's such big news here in Newcastle that he's actually made the front page of the local paper, the Newcastle Herald. That's how much it means to the people of Newcastle. And the last time Tim Tszyu fought in Australia, he was actually 24-0, still undefeated, still at the top of his game. And I honestly feel like it'll do his mental preparation and physical preparation a world of good fighting back home.
Absolutely. Look, this is his spiritual home, Tim Tszyu, and of course we know he's had 2 fights here in Newcastle, both wins against Stevie Spark and Dennis Hogan. It's been 1,370 days since he's fought in Newcastle, but this is the place where he became a champion, he became a world champion, and I think now he's back at base camp, but he'll start the climb again to be a world champion again.
Tim Tszyu insists that he needed to level up from the last fight, and he says that he's done that. This sort of feels like the new era, the new dawn, the new chapter for Tim Tszyu. Do you agree?
I hope so. I mean, look, this is no doubt for me, it's do or die for Tim Tszyu. I mean, in the boxing game, a 3rd straight loss can be curtains. And I think Tim Tszyu's got the quality, got the ring IQ and got the power and the shot selection to be a world champion again. And I think we saw devastation against Fandora in the bloodbath and then the obliteration in Orlando against Bakram Mirzaev. But I think Tim Tszyu learns from that. He'll be a smarter fighter, a better fighter. He's coming to get him.
Well, it looks like the fighters are indeed ready. So let's go to your host for today, Ben Damon.
Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our official announcement press conference. We are back here in Newcastle. The news is that Tim Tszyu is going to return to his spiritual home, and off the back of those 2 defeats in the United States last year, he's coming back to Newcastle, and there are no easy fights. Instead of taking a warm-up fight into this section of his professional boxing career, Tim Tszyu is going to take on a fighter known as the small-town soldier from Michigan in the United States, the 19-1 Joey Spencer. So that is your headline act for a big fight card that will take place on a Sunday here in Australia, the 6th of April, beamed back live into the United States on the Saturday night, the 5th, and all, of course, here in Australia on Main Event Television. Ben Damon is my name. Really pleased to be back here in Newcastle ahead of another big show brought to you by No Limit Boxing Promotions. An exciting undercard as well. All the details will be released tomorrow, but we can reveal a few aspects of that undercard here today, and you'll see a couple of those fighters at the stage. Up the front here, Colin Mazudia will be involved in a very entertaining fight against Dan Hill, and the Bull, Brandon Grach, returns with his opponent to be named in the next couple of days. We'll talk to those fighters and to Tim Tszyu. We'll also hear from Joey Spencer in the United States as well. But first of all, let's talk to the promoter of this event, George Rose. George, welcome back to Newcastle. Great to be back here each and every time, isn't it?
Ben, it is absolutely outstanding to be back here in Newcastle. We're returning to Newcastle for a massive fight, and I can't be more excited. It feels like it has been a long time since we've been here, but it only feels like yesterday that we were here, because every time we come here, the crowd turns it on, the fights deliver, and we have a great time here in Newcastle. And
you just don't learn any lessons, George Rose. What on earth are we doing here announcing that Tim Tszyu, in what is essentially a comeback fight, is taking on 19-1 American Joey Spencer? Surely this is a warm-up fight or something of that ilk. Instead, you're throwing him in tough again.
Look, a lot of people in their comeback fights, coming back from a loss, would choose a dud opponent, would choose somebody that they're going to walk through. I put a lot of options to Tim, and I wanted him to take an easy fight to get back in the winner's circle, but for him, he does not want easy fights. He's made it clear, he's said it loud and proud time and time again that he does not want easy fights. He wants hard fights. This guy is a 2-time PBC Prospect of the Year, a guy who's only got one little blemish on his career, and a guy who absolutely wants to light up this division and sees this as a huge opportunity for himself. Tim wants this fight though. Tim is a guy who wants hard fights every time, and it kills me when he does it. I'd love to have an easy fight where we can just walk in and, you know, he wipes them out. He probably still will do it anyway, but I'd love to have that thought going into it, not going into a fight where I know that he's fighting against a guy who's an absolute killer.
There were other options though. What happened when you discussed those other options with Tim and with his team?
He said no. It was clear. He said no. He said, I want hard fights. I want to get back to the top. He believes he's the best in the division. I believe he's still the best in the division, and I know that he will be back at the top. I absolutely know that. And to do that, you know, he needs to get back in the winner's circle. Like I said, I'd love it to be against a really dud opponent that we could walk through. This guy is a guy who can be at the top of the division, and Tim's putting himself in against that, and that's what he wanted. He wanted the hard fight. He wanted to push himself again. He wants to test himself. He's a guy who takes challenges like no other fighter across the globe. People don't take these sort of fights when you're coming back looking to get back in the winner's circle. Tim Tszyu does. Tim Tszyu's built different. He's a guy who wants to take on absolutely everyone.
Now, we're going to hear from Joey Spencer very, very shortly, but tell us what the Americans at PBC and elsewhere were telling you about this guy when he was put forward as a potential opponent. We know that he was initially going to get the opportunity to fight against Sebastian Fundora for those belts that he has, but instead he's ended up out here in Australia. What do they say about Spencer, the 24-year-old?
Yeah, well, look, he's a guy that's already being touted to fight for world titles. That's how highly they regard him. They regard him as one of the best in the division. They're a guy that they would love to see Tim fight down the track when they're fighting for world titles. It's a world title calibre fight. But Tim Tszyu's taking it now for no world title, just to get back in the winner's circle, to make sure that everybody knows that he's someone who takes tough fights, that gets in against the best across the globe, and shows everybody that he is still the man in this division.
Tim Tszyu sitting alongside you there. You know him well. You've spent the majority of his career as his promoter. What version of Tim Tszyu are we going to see on April 6 and going forward, do you think?
He looks amazing. He looks absolutely outstanding at the moment. Not that he ever does look bad, but he's a guy who's locked in and focused. I've got so much respect for Tim as a fighter and as a person, and what he does in preparing himself for his craft is you know, it's second to none. He's ready to go. I'm excited that he's back in the ring, though. For me, Tim Tszyu fights in Australia, they're the fights that you want to be at. They're the ones that get people turning up, that get people excited. You know, there's only a handful of big Australian sporting events that you've got to be a part of. You know, you've got your Melbourne Cups, your Everest in horse racing, you've got the State of Origin in rugby league. A Tim Tszyu fight in boxing is a sports event that you need to be a part of, that you need to see, because not only does Tim deliver, not only does he bring the crowds out, but everybody on the card turns up and puts on an absolute stellar performance. You always get a great night of fights on a Tim Tszyu card, but the buzz leading up to it as well. The feeling that's going to be here in Newcastle leading up to this fight, there will be no other like it.
Yeah, talk to us about the undercard before we move on and talk to some of these fighters. Clearly, we know Colin Mazzutia down the end of the table will be fighting against Dan Hill. That is an outstanding all-action fight. The Bull, Brandon Grach, returns, and well, we're going to announce the full undercard, I believe, tomorrow, but I can also announce Callum Peters, the Olympian, is going to be a part of the show here in Newcastle as well. Before we reveal everything, what are you excited about?
Well, you're giving a fair bit of it away there already, Ben, but there's some great fights. You've just rattled off some really good ones. Colin Mazzutia, never in a boring fight. Last year, in the fight of the year. Brandon Grach was in the fight of the year before that. He's also had knockout of the year here in Newcastle. When you've got guys that are representing in their hometown, Brandon Grach is coming back after a long layoff with injury. He's getting a fight here in his hometown and a chance to show everybody what he can do, remind everybody what he can do, because there's a lot of guys out there in the heavyweight division who seem to have forgot about Brandon Grach and what he can do. So he'll be storming through them ranks again here, and he gets to do it here in Newcastle. We'll have a lot of Newcastle talent on the card, so plenty of guys representing their hometown who will put on a fantastic performance. Callum Peters is the most exciting prospect that has come out of the Olympics in years. He's a guy that's going to put on an absolute show. We saw what he had to offer in his debut last year, and he's only going to get better with every performance. He's got a lot of personality, a very exciting fighter. He's a guy that you want to watch and be a part of. But this fight for the Australian title between Colin Mazzutia and Dan Hill, that'll be an absolute cracker as well. Two guys who have never been in a boring fight. They'll get in there, they'll get amongst it. It's one that you will want to see.
George, of course, this event will take place on April 6 at the Newcastle Entertainment Centre. But here today, we're at McDonald Jones Stadium in Newcastle. Feels like a good venue for a stadium fight at some point, doesn't it?
Absolutely. We're giving you the entree on April 6. We'll be back here eventually. I know Glenn Jennings will be absolutely pushing for us to get back here to Newcastle. This is a fantastic venue. But April 6, you'll get the entree here at the Zoocastle Entertainment Centre. We're returning to the Zoocastle Entertainment Centre on April 6, so it's going to be a fantastic fight. Tickets are all on sale now, so if you haven't already jumped online, tickettech.com.au, everybody's getting on there already. Get on, get amongst it. It's going to be a great fight night. It always is when we come to Newcastle.
Thanks so much, George. Got us excited about this big card on April 6. Now let's talk to some of those fighters. We'll start down the end of the table here with Cohen Mazudia, who was a part of a Fight of the Year candidate last year against Nikita Tszyu and is always in entertaining fights. And this next fight cannot be anything but exactly that, against the engine Dan Hill. A really attractive fight, and we can't wait to see it. Cohen, how are you travelling, and how have things been since that fight, with the result clearly not going your way? But when you look back, you must be proud of the performance that you both put in, yourself and Nikita.
Yeah, first off, I just wanted to thank the Lord Jesus Christ for this opportunity, and the No Limit boys for having me back on a great card. Yeah, you know, it was an exciting, fun fight for the fans last time out. Didn't get the job done, but, you know, showed that I'm one of the top dogs in the division. And now a fight against Dan Hill, it's another barn burner. Even if, you know, I was trying to box smarter and make it otherwise, it's going to be a cracker of a fight. And, you know, the Australian boxing fans know who I am now and what I come to bring. So it's just going to be another one of those.
Yeah, what do you expect in a fight like this, where someone like Dan Hill is clearly going to be walking forward to you throughout the contest? Do you have to prepare like you're fighting 20 rounds to fight against someone like Dan Hill?
No, maybe prepare like normal, you know. I believe I've got one of the best teams, if not the best team in Australia at the moment, Complete Boxing with Joel Keegan, and we train like no one else. You know, I'm fit, strong at all times, and we've got a game plan that we're looking to, you know, go to war with this bloke. Our boxing be better, but no, mate, nothing changes. Game plan as usual.
And how does it feel knowing that you're going to be prominently placed on a big card like this with Tim Tszyu headlining that'll be beamed live around the world?
Yeah, great. You know, Tim's been leading the charge for Australian boxing for a while, and it's great to be a part of this show, great to be a part of No Limits Promotions. To be able to get some international exposure is awesome too, you know. Like, Tim believes he's the best in the division, and he should, and I believe the same for myself, as anyone that's fighting should. So, you know, Australian title here, clear this out, get some big fights, and yeah, never know what happens.
Do you want that rematch with Nikita at some point?
I'd love it, you know, like, but I'm not holding on to that. You know, we put on a great performance, put on a great fight. I believe that Nikita, we saw the best Nikita that night. I believe we saw, you know, a better version of myself. But I know what I did wrong. I'm not worrying about the past. I'm continuing to grow, continuing to get better, and just enjoying the moment, you know, like looking forward to putting on great fights that me and my kids will be able to watch back in the future.
Thanks so much. That is Cohen Mazudia. We'll move along now to his right, and Brandon Grach. The Bull returns here to Newcastle. Your body's been through a bit since last we saw you. How are you feeling now after operations and recovery, and how exciting is it to be back on the big stage?
Ben, I'm feeling great. I've been training hard for a while now. I'm fit, I'm fast, I'm strong, I'm a bit lighter. I've been putting in the hard work, so I've just been staying ready from the moment that this arm's been good, and it is good. So I'm just ready for whatever comes, and hey, this is home. Like, I grew up here. That's my school across the road. I'm looking at it when I was a kid, so it was a dream for me when I was back here, you know, to fill this stadium out one day, and we'll get there. But I'm stoked to be back here and remind people what the Bull can do.
A bit lighter. You look like you've shredded yourself since last we saw you. You're looking in fantastic condition. What's your secret? Training hard. That's it. I'm just training harder than ever. I've got goals this year. I know where I want to be, and I'm not going to stop till I get them. Do you think that people have forgotten about you in the time that you've been gone? Because it's been a little while since last we saw you, and you've done some really exciting things, but have they slept on the Bull in recent times?
Yeah, maybe. That's why I'm going to show everyone, you know, what the Bull can do again on April 6th on this card, and I'm stoked for the whole card. I'm stoked for the main event to be on a card with Tim. You know, hey, I grew up in Newcastle watching Costa, you know, like, and now I'm on a card with Tim. Like, it's unreal, you know, like, the way things have lined up for me this year, even though I've had some hard times, you know, with injury, I'm just ready to put on a show every time I get in the ring. It's all or nothing for me.
And just a message, if you could, for the rest of the heavyweight division throughout this part of the world, because I know you'll be needing an opponent for this show and needing opponents going forward. What have you got to say to them all?
Mate, we say yes to everyone. If you're willing to step in the ring with me, call my team. You know, my manager's Glenn Jennings. You know, a lot of you know who he is, so there's no hiding any facts here. You know, if it makes sense and it all looks good, then let's get in the ring and get it on. Don't sleep on the Bull.
Okay, so that is a portion of our undercard. As I mentioned, the rest of it will be announced in coming days. But now it is time to preview our main event on April 6. It will be Tim Tszyu against Joey Spencer.
I've got redemption on my mind.
Hold on tight because I'm coming at you fast.
I always want more, 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 more. There is no limitations.
Get ready for the comeback.
He's Tim Tszyu, the real deal. The doubters have been destroyed.
Ready for my comeback.
Introducing Joey Spencer.
Oh my goodness! That was a titanic right hand by Joey Spencer.
So just get ready for the comeback.
So, is that the case? Do we get ready for the comeback of Tim Tszyu after the difficulties of last year? He's going in tough for his first return fight against 19-1 Joey Spencer, and he joins us here today, the former world champion Tim Tszyu. Tim, welcome back to Zoocastle. There could be no better place, I'm sure, to begin this all-important phase of your career.
Yeah, well, coming back home, it's a good feeling, and I was pushing Newcastle for the fact that we've had some great memories with the family, and I'm glad to be back home.
Tell us about the conversations that took place to arrive at this opponent, Joey Spencer, for this fight. We've heard what the promoter George Rose thinks. Plenty think that this is a difficult fight for and essentially a comeback fight, but why did you want this fight and now?
Look, you're in this sport to test yourself at all times, so I wanted a tough challenge. I've been following Joey Spencer for quite a bit. I remember we fought on the same undercard down in Minnesota, so that's when I first saw him. And when the fight got offered, it was a no-brainer for me. It was I knew that I didn't want to take the long road to get back to the top, and the shorter it is, the harder the opponents are. And I knew by taking Joe Spencer this early, at this time, you're going to go straight back into where you belong.
What version of you do we see in this fight in Newcastle after what we saw in Orlando, what we saw in Las Vegas, and now a new year? Is it a new you?
I hope. New year, new me. I hope. Just more calculated. I got another 6 weeks to go, so hopefully we put in the work, be smart, and then come out like a dog too early.
We know that he's training hard. I'm sure you'd be interested to know he's getting out here a month earlier for this fight. He's already on the time zone, so he's going to bed at 5 in the morning. So clearly he's someone who's very professional and taking this very seriously.
Yeah, we're both taking it seriously. You know, he's coming in as if it's a world title. For me, this is the biggest fight of my career. This distinguishes where I come back and where my road will go. So no days off. It's a hard grind.
All right, let's hear from Joey Spencer, who's recorded a message for us. He is from Lincoln in Michigan. He's known as the small town soldier, and this is the 19-1 24-year-old Joey Spencer.
I think this fight is very important for my career. Just being on the stage that it is, Tim Tszyu having the name that he has. A lot of people are going to be tuning in and watching this fight to see if Tim can bounce back. I believe that I'm going to be an underdog in this fight. People are going to take this as, and I'm sure Tim is taking this as a comeback fight, that he's going to come in and be able to get his career back on track. But when I come in and do what I need to do to get this win, I'm definitely going to be on the map in a way that I haven't been up to this point, and I'm really excited for that. I'm excited to get big fights after this, and I feel like it's going to open the door for me to fight bigger fights and the ultimate goal, which is winning the title. This one, I got to be honest, I want this one a little bit more than I think I've ever wanted to fight before. I really want to win this one. We're taking every part of our preparation extremely serious. I believe I beat him because I believe I'm a superior boxer in all facets. I believe that I'm the better fighter. As far as his weaknesses go, I feel like he's got a warrior spirit. It can turn into a weakness. It can also be a strength. Just depends on how it's being used. But I believe I win the fight because I'm superior as a fighter, and I believe that my preparation is going to be better. I believe I'm going to come in with the better game plan, and I believe that he's not going to be able to deal with what we prepare in this training camp. So if I touch his chin right, do I believe that I can put him away? Absolutely. I'm coming to take him out, whether it's a decision, a stoppage, or a knockout. So I'm coming to win this fight. And a knockout is always fun, but I don't necessarily think that just because he was knocked out in his last fight, I'll have an easier time knocking him out, or it gives me more belief that I'll be able to knock him out. I'm taking this fight and going into it the same way that I go into every other fight, which is letting the game plan play out and fighting my fight. And if the knockout comes, it comes.
So that is Joey Spencer. I'm coming to take him out, he says. Your response to everything you just saw, Tim?
Yeah, this is that was a good clip actually. A good little motivation for me. Lucky I didn't miss my morning session this morning, so I'll be back in the gym doing the same thing.
Does it fire you up knowing you've got an opponent who's clearly here for a fight? He's going to come towards.
Oh, look, every fighter at this caliber and this stage is like that. You know, like we give it our all. We don't have a second job. We only have one job, and we're on the same caliber. So, yeah, the motivation's there for me. 6 weeks to go. I can't wait to be punching on again.
Have you missed it?
Yes. First couple spars was a bit, as always, but yeah, now things are starting to flow. In another 6 weeks, hopefully, fingers crossed, we get everything on track.
And Tim, given the nature of your opponent here, do you sort of feel that you're only one fight away from being back in world title contention? Is that why you're fighting at this level in this fight?
Yeah, for sure. You know, I'd love to get the rematches as well with my previous two. It's my first time rewatching it back, and I realised I'm a bit too much of a dog at times, maybe too early. So things have to be a bit smarter, more methodical, and yeah, we'll be back.
So to be clear, you want a rematch with Fundora and Murtazaliev?
I want this fight first, Joey Spencer. I'm not overlooking at anyone. You know, this is my world title fight for me right now. This is the most important. This is the only thing in my life right now, is this fight. That's it. There's nothing else. There's no more weddings, none of that stuff. It's just, it's just this.
Okay, thanks, Tim Tszyu. We're going to go now to some questions from members of the media.
Yeah, Jay McAllister here. Tim, I'm wondering how you sort of deal with the pressure and the expectation that's placed upon you.
Good question. I just deal with it.
Good question. You happy with that answer, Jay?
Well, you know, you can strengthen your body, but do you have sort of any methods to deal with it, or?
What's that?
Do you have any methods that you use to deal with the pressure?
Block a lot of things out. I don't really pay attention to it, but somehow I deal with it, right? I'm in this position for a reason.
Thanks, Jay.
Timmy, mate, everyone has their opinion on why you started the last fight the way you did. Now that you've had time to look back at it, analyse it, why did you fight? Why did you start that fight the way you did?
Good question. Another good question.
Thank you. That's what I do for a job.
I just did. That's it. I just did. And what was I thinking that time? I don't know. But
Do you want us to stop this section, Tim?
It's not
did. Working for you?
They're asking me questions and I'm answering them. The only way to answer them.
So how do you change it this time around?
Don't do what I did last time.
So how do you do that then?
Just, I guess...
what do you have to change?
I don't know, man. We'll see. Maybe I'll do the same thing, just hopefully not get knocked out. We'll see what happens on the night.
Thank you so much, Nick. Brendan Bradford, good luck.
Come on, another good question, yeah?
Hey, Tim. How do you respond to sort of people saying that this is do or die? Is it win or bust with this one?
Every fight's do or die. Every fight's a must win, especially in this category. So, yeah, that's how I see it. That's how I see every fight, so must win.
And what are you seeing of Joey Spencer, and how do you sort of feel like you match up with him?
He's slick. 9 times USA champion back in the amateur days, so he's got a good pedigree, good boxer. Again, it's going to be tough, but this is the level that we're at.
Tim, you're undefeated up until these last 2 fights. How does an experience like that sort of affect your confidence? Are you still as confident as you always were?
We shall see.
All right, thank you very much to the ladies and gentlemen of the media. Tim, we'll repeat the details. Newcastle Entertainment Centre is the venue. It is on a Sunday, the 6th of April. Tim Tszyu against Joey Spencer. Tim, just a message to the people of Newcastle, to your boxing fans around Australia and those watching around the world ahead of this big event that we're going to see. What would you like to say to everyone who's following you and continues to follow you on this journey?
I'll be back. Simple.
All right, we can't wait to see Tim Tszyu back in action with all of the details around a stacked undercard to be announced in coming days as well. The venue, as I mentioned, the Newcastle Entertainment Centre. It is Sunday the 6th of April. You can see it all, of course, on Main Event Television. Thanks so much for joining us at this official announcement press conference today. I'm Ben Damon, and I'll see you at the fights.
Well, there you have it, Tim Tszyu versus Joey Spencer. Of course, Sunday, April 6th. Peter Bedell, an interesting press conference just now. I was really impressed with what I heard from Joey Spencer. Your overall thoughts on what transpired?
Absolutely, Nico. Look, I think what I take out of that, we're going to see one of the fights of the year. I really believe that. I mean, Joey Spencer is coming to fight, and I think he's got not only the ability, but the belief. And I think that's the word for Tim in this camp, belief. Can Tim overcome the 2 losses he's had, the 2 devastating losses? But I think Spencer is coming to fight. He has real talent. He was a PBC Prospect of the Year in 2019, and he can do the job. But as we welcome in Tim, thanks for joining us, Tim. I was just saying our thoughts on the press conference. You seem like you're locked in again, and I know you had those 2 devastating losses, but how have you come to terms with that?
Re-watching it from a technical point of view and seeing the flaws and mistakes and just improving on that.
Well, Tim, it's great to see you once again. It was an intriguing press conference, and what was really striking to me was, first of all, how respectful Joey Spencer was, but also the confidence in this young man to say, yeah, I believe that I am better than Tim Tszyu. Your response to this young fighter?
Yeah, he's confident, you can tell. I need to take away it, and I need to take it all away in the fight, strategically, of course. But I know the caliber that he's at. He's a good fighter.
It's interesting, Tim. Back in August 2022, he was watching you. He was quoted saying, "I'd like to fight Tim Tszyu one day." So I guess he gets his wish now. But when you look at your journeys, both as boxers, why do you think you'll outlast him on April 6th?
I don't know. We'll see, man. We'll see. Like. I used to do the talking, why this, why that. Now it's just time to prove it, you know? Like, I don't need to say why I'm quicker, I'm stronger. I don't need to be saying that. I just need to do it.
Tim, I read an article, and it was interesting. You said that before the last fight, you felt a bit like Iron Man. And you were saying that could be a bit dangerous when you feel like you're invincible. How have you shifted your mentality to take on this up-and-coming prospect?
I still feel like that, you know? I still feel like that. But it's just got to be at a right time, unleashed. Every fighter is dangerous, especially at this level. Every fighter is so dangerous, so I just got to be aware of it and just be smart.
You know, Tim, one of the great narratives of Orlando, I know it was disappointing, but it was great to see Kostya there. It was one of the great memories for everyone there. What did you take out of having Kostya in camp, and what did he say to you after it? And then, will you have him here for this camp?
No, I won't have him here for this one, but it was good. At the same time, I wasn't really used to him, so it was a bit different. But I was glad that my dad was there.
I mean, that's the thing, the last time you saw him was at the SCG on debut, Tim. So you've had a long journey, haven't you? You've become your own man in many ways. So do you feel like as a fighter, you've got another dimension to you?
Look, maybe I was... he told me some things, and hopefully I can learn from it.
What things did he say, Tim?
Just how to approach things.
All right, well, Tim Tszyu, we can't wait to see you back in action. We appreciate your time today, and we'll see you in the lead-up.
Appreciate it, guys.
As we welcome in the boss here at No Limit Boxing, George Rose. George, thank you ever so much for your time. Now, this is the fight news that I think all fight fans in Australia wanted to hear. Tim Tszyu is back, but I understand that he sort of went against your wishes, as you mentioned there on stage, that he's taking on a young, up-and-coming prospect. What was your reaction when you first heard that?
Look, like I said, it shocked me a little bit. Ideally, we'd love to chuck him in against someone easy that he's just going to walk straight through. I know it won't be quite as exciting as seeing him in a tough fight, but for him to have that attitude, it also tells me where his head's at. And I think that's a good thing for all of Australia to know, is that this is where his head's at, is that if he's walking in at this level, the step up from there, you're talking about world title guys, because this guy here, he was touted as a world title fight for Tim. You know, when we talked about it, they said this is a fight that we'd love to see Tim defend a world title against. He's a guy who's on the way up, who deserves a shot. So it's a world title caliber fight, but he's taken it as a comeback fight.
I'll tell you what, George, how's your blood pressure when you hear the words Joey Spencer, a potential third straight loss for Tim Tszyu? I mean, this is danger stuff. Do you think if Tim loses this fight, is his career over?
No, I think Tim's going to fight as long as he wants to fight. And for me, Tim's still the most exciting guy to get behind in Australian boxing, and you love watching him fight. This fight, yes, very hard. But like I said, it's world title caliber fight. And that's the level that it's at. Hearing Joey Spencer talk, I think if anyone was questioning, you know, how hard this fight's actually going to be, hearing him talk, you know that he's coming to win. He's coming knowing that a win here puts him into the world title shot. So it's a very tough one. It's one that we're going to all have to get behind Tim for, because even though he's doing his work, he's preparing himself as well as he can, we need to get Newcastle rocking and make sure that it's a tough time for Joey Spencer.
You're right in what you say, George. Joey Spencer, he is a great story, and he spoke very well just there, you know, and he's from a small town over in Michigan, you know, drives 2 hours to training every day and back, you know, comes from a very humble beginning as well. And he's so confident, a two-time PBC Prospect of the Year. This is, you know, no joke for Tim Tszyu this time around.
He's got every right to be confident, and like you said, he seems like a very likeable guy, and I hate those opponents. I hate when you're up against a guy that you can really like. I'd rather have someone that we can absolutely hate and be all against, but this is a guy who's worked hard to be where he's at. He deserves a shot. He deserves everything that he's got, and he's going to make it very hard for Tim Tszyu. But Tim, as we know, he's our champion guy. He's our guy that we've followed his journey the whole way through, and when I say we, I mean all of Australia. All of Australia's been behind Tim for this journey, and will continue to be behind it, because the story just got more interesting. He's coming off a loss. He's looking to find that way back to the top, and it's a story that we all want to be behind and see that. He's an underdog again for so long. We've known him as the champion. Now he's the underdog who's fighting his way back to championship status.
Well, this is very exciting. No doubt the most exciting fight of 2025 so far. We can't wait for it. Don't forget, you can order the pay-per-view at mainevent.com.au. And don't forget, this weekend, it's the big rematch, Wilson v. Dib 2. See you next time.
Two lightweight warriors! A fight of the year contender. Revenge is sweet. Liam Wilson with the left hook from hell. It's a bump! Oh my goodness! Their boxing lives on